Well, we're here today with Colin Barron. Colin moved to Manchester about 20 years ago with a dream of planting about 20 churches and has been here really ever since then. He's also worked with Terry Virgo in New Frontiers International and been involved in a number of different nations. But really, we want to talk about Manchester today and particularly Christchurch, Manchester. So, Colin, we started here in CCM about 6 years ago. We're now with 4 communities, 4 sites and 5 meetings. Do you want to tell us a bit how we got started?
Yeah, we started in Gorton primarily because I met some people who were working amongst the very poor there, and I ended up actually in my spare time helping them out in the kitchen. And as we began to see people saved, we started to build a community. I realised that it was very difficult not to see people saved so much, but actually to help people and disciple people. There's a kind of fatalism. If you've been in a generationally unemployed situation, schooling, everything's kind of going wrong for you, you end up this fatalistic attitude, which actually, even if you find Jesus, it is still a difficult way to come out of. And so we looked at different ways of how could we help people. One of them was actually to start music workshops, actually, because God speak to us about that, and to teach young people especially musical instruments and actually put them together as bands and then let them do some concerts. And for some it was the first time they were getting applauded, and we realised that as they got applauded and their parents saw that people were appreciating them, that there was a hope and a way through for some of these people, not only just to find Jesus, and hey, that's the massive thing, but actually to undo some of the years of fatalism that had come to be part of their lives. In fact, there's been a book written, it's called The Unreached, and really saying in this nation of the UK, these sort of people are the most unreached now in society.
So we started in Gorton, one of the poorest parts of Manchester, and then you recruited me to move from Birmingham about 6-7 years ago to help you plant into Fallowfield, which is an incredibly studenty, young professional part of the city. What was your thinking? What was your reasons for doing that?
Yeah, it was an interesting move. And a number of the people, even in the Gorton area, are asking, Colin, why go into Fallowfield? Well, one of the things that I realised early on is that there's very few young people, Christians, in the east side of the city. And it's very de-churched, and those who go to church in the main are older. And when you're looking at helping and being missional into that community, we really need some workers. So I thought, God speak to me, that if we went into a massive student area, it's probably 100,000 students now in Greater Manchester, and actually built a church community that had a heart for the poor, we could begin not only to see students saved and become missionaries to the world, but actually for some of them to actually move or help in the works that we're doing. And so we started in a vodka bar and then moved, as you know, into a little chapel, and probably got 120 now, 18 to 21 year olds. And it's just exciting to see that that original heart that we had, not to just go into an easier area, which it is, but actually to help people aspire to be part of the work into a much more needy community. It's just wonderful to see people actually being raised up and doing that. And so we've just started in the city centre, and one of the things that was so exciting for me was just a little group of students we met in a coffee shop just 1 month ago. And as we were praying, one of them talked about the homeless people, and that actually the homelessness in Manchester has doubled. And so we have this phenomena in the city centre of doubling of homeless, but actually it's the fastest growing urban area, city centre, for young professionals to move in the whole of the UK. And so the praying of this little group of people, students, was let's, God, see people saved from that aspiring generation, young professionals, but let's see numbers of these homeless people actually coming into the community and being part of the community. And it just thrilled me. I thought this is exactly what we wanted to do when we went into Student Land, and to see the next church plant actually have that in its DNA. In fact, one of the guys wrote a blog explaining this, and for me, That was kind of an icing on the cake, thinking, yes, that's what we want.
So it's great to hear how CCM got started, some of your heart and reasoning behind it. Just to finish up, tell us an encouraging story from Gorton and give us a challenge for CCM at the moment.
Okay, well, let's do the challenge first. I guess in the strategy that we had, we went from a fairly poor area to another fairly poor area, because students don't come with stacks of money, often with stacks of debt. In fact, one of my leaders said to me a year ago, he said, Colin, you know what, we're talent rich and cash poor. And so that has been a challenge, but I do believe that actually it's people that matter. And actually getting in the hearts of people, eventually we will see the money and the resources coming, because people resources are the main thing. And yeah, one of the really exciting things is not only to help poor people, but to see them aspire to help themselves. And so one of the two kind of incidents that again kind of epitomise our thinking is we had sent a team over to India. And involved in that team, they were trying to raise money for a well, because they were working in a community where there was very little water. And some of our unemployed guys heard about this in Gorton, and they said, we're going to do anything we can to raise money. And they literally did. They sold stuff. I was in a market once, and they were there trying to get money off people. And they worked their socks off, and they raised £700 and something. And because they knew that's how much it was to a well. And so now there's a well in India, and it says money raised from CCM Gorton, and that actual money was raised from unemployed people. And they were just thrilled that actually they could do something. And that's been one of our hearts, is it's not just to bring resources in, but they are a people resource. There's something great in them. And then just recently we had a couple of guys saved there, and one of them from a very difficult background. And I'm told by the guy leading the church that every week he's there before he arrives. He's first there and he's the last to go, and he's there, he sets up, he sorts everything out, and then he's there to pack away. And because his heart's been changed and he wants to do something. And so somebody from, again, a pretty fatalistic background, realising that actually with Jesus, hearts changed, then actually they can be a positive influence on society, and actually I've got something incredible to give. And so that's really our dream, is to see from different backgrounds, rich and poor, young and old, actually finding Jesus and actually working together for mission to the nations. Our goal would be to send some of these people from student land and from some of the more unreached, difficult places of society on mission to the world.